Hello and welcome to the viewers of this video. This is the Orange Fan here, bringing you another entry for the episode Recap and Thoughts category. This video will be dedicated to episode 37 of Young Justice, Cornered. We begin this episode somewhere in the Milky Way galaxy on April 1st, April Fool's Day, where we see an alien with 3 eyes and a robot on a spacecraft somewhere in space, naturally. The robot, speaking in a robotic language that requires subtitles to understand, is telling the 3-eyed alien about the Justice League and how they're supposed to be Earth's greatest champions. The robot also mentions that many of the Justice League members are not on Earth at the moment, but rather on Rimbor, but adds that there are still many members of the Justice League present on Earth, and that means that the 3-eyed alien will still have many opponents to choose from on Earth, and the 3-eyed alien seems to be pleased by this information. We then head to New York City, where there's a press conference being held at the United Nations. Captain Atom has met with the Reach Ambassador and Sane, and the Reach Ambassador says he's pleased that the Justice League have accepted the Reach's invitation for peaceful negotiations. Captain Atom mentions that the Justice League is all in favor of peaceful negotiations. And the Reach Ambassador, in a subtle manner, tries to make the Justice League look bad by saying that if peaceful negotiations don't work, the Justice League have superpowers to fall back on. But Captain Atom catches on to this and says that the Justice League doesn't use forceful methods and says that these are matters that they can talk about privately. So Captain Atom, the Reach Ambassador, and Sane head off to talk about these matters privately, and G. Gordon Godfrey uses this as a way to smear the Justice League's name on the news. The next scene takes us to Taos at the Star Labs facility there, where we see, similar to the episode Disordered, Black Canary is holding therapy sessions for the members of the Young Justice team and the teenagers that were captured by the Reach but were rescued in the previous episode Before the Dawn. Black Canary has finished up a therapy session with Ty Longshadow, and the next teenager that Black Canary is going to talk to is Virgil Hawkins. She assures Virgil that the camera in the room is simply so she, as in Black Canary, can remember everything that Virgil and the other individuals that she talks to. It's so that she can remember everything they tell her. And she says that besides being a therapy session, it's also a talk that's done to see if they can understand why the Reach targeted these individuals in particular. Virgil, who's holding onto a paperclip while he's talking, he admits he doesn't know why the Reach targeted him or any of the other teenagers for that matter, but he does talk about the experiments that the Reach had performed on these individuals, saying that they progressively became more and more painful over time. Virgil also mentions that there were some teenagers that he didn't see again after a certain point in time, mentioning that he was one of the lucky ones. Virgil makes it very clear that he wants to go back home as soon as possible and that his family is worried about him. When Virgil's session is finished and he leaves the room, he tosses the paperclip back on the desk. But what happens is it's been magnetized, the paperclip, and other nearby paperclips they gravitate towards that particular paperclip, and they form a ball of paperclips, and Black Canary notices this. The next scene takes us to Bloodhaven, where Nightwing has brought Superboy, Miss Martian, Mal Duncan, Wolf, and the Supercycle to a warehouse. According to Nightwing, The basement of the Hall of Justice will be the temporary headquarters of the Unjustice team, but this warehouse is going to be the temporary home of the individuals who called Mount Justice home because Mount Justice has been destroyed. Mal isn't too happy about the warehouse, and he says that he's going to go to the Hall of Justice to make other arrangements. And Nightwing suggests to Superboy and Miss Martian that they join Mal at the Hall of Justice to gather their belongings that were salvaged from Mount Justice. So that's where the next scene takes us, Washington, D.C., the Hall of Justice. And we do see Superboy, Miss Martian, and Mal Duncan are all at the Hall of Justice at this point in time. Zatanna, Captain Marvel, and Bumblebee are also at the Hall of Justice at this particular time. Suddenly, they hear the robotic language that the robot from earlier was speaking, but the robot then changes to a language they understand, and the robot introduces himself as Elron. He describes himself as the major domo of the alien gladiator Despero, who's looking for worthy opponents on Earth. At first, Captain Marvel thinks that this is one of Plastic Man's April Fool's Day jokes, but Elron makes it clear this is no joke, and Elron creates a force field around the Hall of Justice, and Despero, the alien with 3 eyes, teleports within the Hall of Justice, and by extension within the force field. Elron even describes it as a cage match, and Despero proceeds to fight Captain Marvel first. Elron notices that Zatanna is a magic user when she's about to cast a spell and warns Despero, who uses his 3rd eye to cause Zatanna to become unresponsive. And so Despero continues to fight Captain Marvel while the members of the Unjustice team that are currently within the Hall of Justice, they soon join the battle not too long after. And while the fight is going on, we do see a few other scenes, such as we do get to see the meeting between Captain Atom, the Reach Ambassador, and Sane, for example. Captain Atom tries to expose the Reach for what they're really trying to do, mentioning that the Reach have been on Earth for a longer period of time. Captain Atom says that the Reach have been on Earth before they publicly announced their presence. And the Reach Ambassador tries to make the Justice League look bad in response. Like, the Reach Ambassador says that they didn't make their presence known immediately because they worried that the Justice League would respond in a harsh or hostile manner. And the Reach Ambassador also tries to make the Justice League look bad by claiming that the Justice League are confusing the Reach for the Krolataeans when Captain Atom mentions that the Reach have kidnapped individuals and performed experiments on them. And we do see more of how the Reach Ambassador is trying to paint the Justice League in a bad light, or trying to how the Reach are trying to protect their reputation, because the Reach Ambassador undermines the credibility of potential witnesses, such as the Unjustice team, by pointing out that they're the young hero proteges under the Justice League's command, and also undermines the credibility of the Runaways, who were captured by the Reach, by describing them as impressionable young fans. But the meeting is soon interrupted when Captain Atom receives a message on the comlink telling him about the situation at the Hall of Justice. And we do see Wade Elin and Black Lightning, another member of the Justice League, who are trying to, Black Lightning and Wade Elin are both trying to get rid of the force field around the Hall of Justice, but no success has come from their efforts. And we do also get to see more of Black Canary's therapy sessions with other individuals. And Impulse mentions to Blue Beetle that he didn't tell Black Canary about how Blue Beetle is brought under the Reach's control at some point in the future, because Impulse mentions he doesn't know what caused Blue Beetle to fall under the Reach's control and thinks that it's better that they not tell anyone about it. And the Scarab actually agrees with Impulse about that particular detail, but Blue Beetle is not so willing to, or Blue Beetle doesn't seem to be as supportive of this course of action. As for the fight in the Hall of Justice, at one point Captain Marvel tries to use the lightning bolt that appears when he shouts Shazam to try and fight Despero, but it doesn't work, and Despero causes Billy Batson to become unresponsive after seeing Billy Batson, because, as Elrond puts it, Despero doesn't fight non-adults, like kids or teenagers. And eventually Bumblebee is also hit with the whatever it is Despero is using with his third eye to cause individuals to become unresponsive. So Despero has been fighting Superboy for a while now, and Miss Martian has been reluctant to use her own abilities. Like when Mal suggests that she brain blast Despero, she's very reluctant to do so, remembering what she did to Aqualad in the previous episode. While the fight is going on, there is a point where Mal notices Guardian's costume is no longer on display. It was broken out of its case during the fight, and Mal gets an idea. So when it looks like Despero is about to finish off Superboy and Bumblebee, Mal arrives, but he's wearing Guardian's costume, and he proclaims himself the secret champion of Earth, Earth's Guardian, and he telepathically talks to Miss Martian, explaining that he's trying to act as a distraction until they can figure out a plan B. So Miss Martian takes Superboy and Bumblebee to a safer distance while Mal tries to distract Despero. And Mal says he's very thankful that Black Canary's training... Yeah, he says Black Canary's training has been very helpful because he's able to dodge Despero's very powerful attacks. And Superboy is eventually able to recover, and he tells Miss Martian that she needs to get her head in the game, saying that even if telepathic abilities won't work on Despero, try to think of something to do. So Superboy goes to help Mal out with fighting Despero again. And when Miss Martian tries to establish a mental link with Zatanna, Billy Batson, and Bumblebee, she describes what's happened to them as... She says it in a... Yeah, her choice of words are that Despero has put a mental or psychic blindfold over their minds, and she's able to remove the psychic blindfold, so to speak. And just in time, too, because as Despero opens up his third eye in order to put a mental blindfold over Mal, like he did before, Zatanna uses Miss Martian's mental link to temporarily possess Mal so that she can cast a spell, which causes Despero's ability to reflect back to him. So now Despero is the one who has the psychic or mental blindfold over their mind now. And Superboy says this is enough for him to beat up Despero and take advantage of this advantage in their favor, and he beats up Despero. And Billy Batson uses the lightning bolt that appears when he says Shazam to destroy Elrond. So Elrond's been destroyed and Despero has been taken care of. So they've managed to win this battle. we do see Captain Atom has joined Black Lightning, and Black Lightning and Captain Atom are the Justice League members outside of the force field trying to break it. But eventually, the Reach Ambassador and Sane arrive, and the Reach Ambassador says that they should let him try to destroy the force field, and he does use a device to eliminate the force field, and Captain Atom begrudgingly gives his thanks to the Reach Ambassador. The Reach Ambassador says it's unfortunate that the Hall of Justice was destroyed, but says that it's a good thing that the Watchtower that's in space right now, he says that, but it's a good thing the Watchtower in space is still in one piece, and Sane was not aware of the Watchtower's existence. And the Reach Ambassador sarcastically, he apologizes, but he's not sincere about his apology that, was that information not supposed to be known to the public? And naturally, G. Gordon Godfrey takes advantage of this information to continue to mudsling the Justice League's name. So we do have So the next scene is where we see Nightwing, Black Canary, that scene doesn't come up yet. The next scene actually takes us to Bloodhaven, where we do see that Mal Duncan has decided to stay at the warehouse after all. Lagoon Boy and Beast Boy are also going to be staying in this warehouse. As for Miss Martian, she's going to stay elsewhere, and we do find out where that location will be. We then head to Chicago, and it's now April 2nd, and we see that Miss Martian has decided to stay in the apartment that Martian Manhunter normally stays at. She took on Martian Manhunter's human disguise appearance for the sake of those who... so that the people present at the apartment think that John Jones, Martian Manhunter's civilian disguise name, is still present on Earth. And she's watering some plants when Superboy knocks on the door saying that he and Miss Martian need to talk. So Miss Martian lets Superboy in so they can talk. Now, this is the scene now where Captain Atom, Black Canary, and Nightwing are gathered up to report on the different information that they have. And Captain Atom mentions that Despero has been taken into the Reach's custody because he couldn't refuse, or he couldn't think of a reason why not to after the Reach used the Justice League secrets against them. Black Canary says she has more of an understanding of what the metagene is and figures that the Reach is trying to weaponize the metagene. And soon enough, Blue Beetle arrives in the middle of this meeting, and despite Impulse and the Scarab both objecting to what he's about to do, Blue Beetle reveals to Nightwing, Black Canary, and Captain Atom the fact that the Reach get him under their control. He mentions how in Impulse's time period, the Reach have Blue Beetle under their control. And Blue Beetle says he can't live with the possibility of that future. So the episode ends with Blue Beetle requesting that they figure out some way to remove the Scarab no matter what it takes. And that's how we end the episode. So this episode kind of deals with the aftermath of what happened in the previous episode. We get to see where the Young Justice team are going to stay, both for resting and where they're going to be briefed on their missions after Mount Justice is destroyed. And we do get to see more of how the Reach are cunning adversaries, because the Reach ambassador managed to use his words in order to turn the public against the Justice League, or to make the Justice League look bad. And I guess that goes along with that saying how sometimes words can be more powerful weapons than your fists. How words can be more powerful than fists sometimes. And Despero was quite the powerful adversary too. And This is the episode where Mal Duncan takes up the hero identity Guardian, which was the case in the main DC comics. Mal Duncan did eventually become Guardian at one point. And Greg Weisman did reveal that Jim Harper, the previous Guardian, did find out about Mal becoming the new Guardian, and he did offer to become a mentor for Mal. So we don't get to see that in the show itself, but it's a nice little detail to be told about. One of those details that aren't covered in the show. It's nice that we receive details like that. And otherwise, there's also the matter of how Miss Martian is still dealing with the trauma of how her actions in the previous episode have... Miss Martian is still feeling guilty about how she was an unwilling instigator of doom in the previous episode, how she put Aqualad in a catatonic state, which puts Artemis in greater danger in her undercover mission, because she was Miss Martian was unwilling to use her powers against Despero, although she was able to at least remove the mental or psychic blindfold that was around the minds of their allies that were affected by the ability of Despero's third eye. And I should mention that while Despero doesn't talk in the episode, we do see that Despero does seem to be savvy in some way, such as after Elrond tells Despero about Zatanna being a magic user, Despero wasted no time in using his third eye on Zatanna to put the mental or psychic blindfold around her, which proved to be which protected him, because when Zatanna was freed of that mental or psychic blindfold, they were able to defeat Despero. So that kind of does reaffirm how Young Justice does have adversaries who are very savvy, or they go about their actions in a smart or careful manner, which can be very dangerous. And as for Elrond, he does have a running gag where he adds ism at the end of some words, and some fans were not too fond of that. Some people found that annoying, but I personally didn't mind. I thought that was... I got some chuckles out of that, so I didn't personally mind that, but it goes to show how different viewers may have different preferences or different senses of humor. Like, some people might find some things annoying, some people might find some things funny. It's going to differ from person to person, and that's okay. There's nothing wrong with that. It's just we need to remember that there's nothing wrong with people not sharing the same sense of humor. And otherwise, there we go. This episode was much more of a breather compared to the previous episode, but it still had its intense moments overall. But still, relatively speaking, it allowed things to unwind after the events of after the end of the first half of season 2. And